Nelson Muntz, son of Eddie Muntz and Mrs. Muntz, creator of the famous catchphrase "ha ha," and one of Springfield's biggest bullies and Bart's rival. At least, that's how he started off. Our first introduction to Nelson is in Season 1's Bart the General, and is shown to be feared by most of the children in Springfield, and is also shown to be very tough and bullies a lot of people, as told by this line.
What? Nelson, you're bleeding.
Nah, happens all the time. Somebody else's blood splatters on me.
Now, for the first few seasons of The Simpsons, Nelson's just shown to be this hard-headed bully who isn't very smart. He lives with his mother in an extremely run-down house. It's told that his father abandoned them both. Now, I will say, even though throughout the series we do see his father, particularly in Season 9's Bart Star episode, we do mostly see him throughout the show's flashbacks or memories told from Nelson's point of view. And as well, I do know that later in the series we do get an episode with his father returning, having left because he had a nut allergy, but we'll get to that a little bit later in the video. So, with him living with a single mother in a very run-down house, that can easily explain why he bullies people. He has a mother who doesn't really care what he does, and so he knows that he can get away with pretty much anything. Again, throughout the first few seasons, he was just a one-note character. Someone to be dumb, someone to bully Bart whenever he could, and just someone to deliver his catchphrase whenever the show called for it. We do get to see more character in Nelson in other episodes, even with him interacting and actually getting along with some of the other children, such as in Season 7's Bart on the Road, where Bart gets his driver's license and ends up going on a road trip with himself, Milhouse, Martin, and of course, Nelson. However, for me, I believe the episode that changed it all was in Season 8's episode, Lisa's Date with Destiny. Like, from this point in the show, Nelson started to change. In this episode, Lisa starts laughing at Nelson's antics from the window, which caused her to get detention. During detention, she once again sees him from the window, and in a total flip of character, he decides to help her get through detention quicker by using a 5-piece chalk instead of a 1-piece. Now, Lisa is confused as to why Nelson decided to help her and just stares at him from the window, only to discover she actually has a crush on him. As the episode progresses, Lisa confesses to him and the two start hanging out. However, Lisa is not very fond of his antics and the way he acts, and so decides that she wants to change him and make him a better version of himself, as she knows that deep down, he has a soft side and is a nice person. Nelson, as well, also liking Lisa, goes along with it even if it makes him feel a little bit silly. The two eventually go on a little date where they share a kiss, which happens to be Lisa's first kiss as well. However, right as the kiss ends, the other 3 bullies of Springfield, Dolph, Jimbo and Kearney, arrive to shame him for kissing Lisa.
That is so gay!
Lisa then tries to defend Nelson up to the point that the bullies turn on Lisa, leading Nelson to then defend her too against the bullies. After a little talk, the bullies ask Nelson to join them in mischief, but he says no and decides that he wants to spend time with Lisa.
I better not.
Now, even though he eventually does join the bullies and gets dumped by Lisa, I think this was the start of him becoming a well-developed character. We do see him more in future episodes as well, such as Season 9's Das Bus, where he's a part of the Model UN Club with a bunch of children from Springfield Elementary. From this point in the story, even though he started off as a bully that everyone was scared of, he's already starting to become part of groups. Whilst, yes, he's still an angry person who will bully other students, and sometimes even hang out with the other titular bullies, he's shown to have more interactions with the main characters and the side characters. From here, he's getting shown much more depth as a character, and is even seeming to get more story told about his life as well outside of school and just being a bully. And it might explain why he does what he does. Instead of just being a bully for fun, it turns out he actually does it more for the fear that people will find stuff out about him, such as his family life, and he's just embarrassed about it. Now, we see Nelson as a person who just wants to have his father back in his life, sometimes even imagine him returning, only to be hugging a tree instead of his father, such as in Season 14.
Papa, never leave me again.
However, an even bigger turning point, and the point that made me want to do this in-depth of his character, was in Season 18's episode, The Haw-Hawed Couple. In this episode, Bart is the only person to show up to Nelson's birthday, as none of the other kids seem to want to. However, because of this, Nelson's very appreciative of Bart and the two characters actually have great chemistry together. With Nelson being a child who can do what he wants and Bart being chaotic, it actually makes for a great friendship, and the bond between the two is magnificent. The two characters seem to grow together and actually enjoy each other's company. However, throughout the episode, Bart starts to notice that Nelson's a little bit too clingy as a friend and gets worried, telling Nelson that they can't be friends anymore. Upon this, Nelson gets even more character development, saying that Bart was just using him, and you can actually see how hurt Nelson is from all of this.
You are a bad friend.
All he wants is for someone to like him for him. The episode ends with Nelson saving Bart's life and Bart being happy with his time with Nelson, holding the jacket that Nelson gave him, only for Nelson to laugh and say that he made Bart feel. Throughout the rest of the series, we get even more depth into his character. He's the only character that seems to grow more and more, showing he's not only a nicer person than what we once thought, but he's also smart. Such as the time he started his own business after a loan from Lisa, or when he even used his detective skills to catch Bart and Lisa for almost killing Martin. A lot more does happen to him to flesh him out as a character, such as seeing him cry during shows, or even having an interest in Snow White. However, I feel like the ones I've mentioned so far are the best parts of his character that show the growth in an exponential way. However, some of the best and most interesting parts of his character are definitely the flash forward episodes, where we see him in the future. Now I know that Simpsons has a load of these, and in some of them Lisa ends up with Milhouse or even with Ralph, but I love the ones where she might end up with Nelson. Now I know some flash forward episodes do have the jokes, such as when he has two sets of twins and abandons them, but I feel like it just gives more depth to his character, especially in the ones where he's fully fleshed out and just a better person overall. However, I feel like the ones where he ends up with Lisa, it just fully cements his character development and growth. It shows that he's changed everything and will most likely be the one that ends up with Lisa in the end. Overall, I just believe that Nelson's one of the most detailed characters in the show that didn't become a subject of flanderization. Whereas the majority of the characters in the show were given just the one note of their personality, Nelson seemed to always grow as a character and would never just be one note. He went from a bully that everyone feared to then being a friend and then possibly even being a husband for Lisa. Nelson, to me, definitely had the best arc in The Simpsons. From his friendship with Bart, his interactions and adoration of Lisa, and even his interactions with Marge as well when she adopted him. I just hope that when they do end the show, they give him the ending that he truly deserves and the happiness that he's always thrived for. But what do you guys think? Do you think there's a character in Simpsons with a better arc than Nelson? Or do you think that he has become a subject of flanderization? Either way, let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll speak to you later.